goes, now there's a motion to second. I'm not prepared to, I don't know even how to put a price to say, to authorize or delegate that authority to staff. I don't know how we do it.
I think that would have to come back to us. I mean, I think the only way that, I think that if any of that kicks in is if Damascus changes their mind. I mean, I think we let them kind of decide what they want to do up here.
If we have Mr. Garcia here, I'd like to hear what he's got to say. If you've done, have you done it?
We have not done any species that I'm aware of.
I'm sorry, Steve.
We have not done any specific studies on all of the other species that were listed in that email.
So you don't know of one that's been done by anybody?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's pretty clear what's happened as far as what led to this email, or it seems pretty clear. The question is I guess, is for Damascus to determine if they are worried about some sort of follow through.
Unless the other buyer would come in with this an equitable piece of property that we would be getting on the transaction, it's not even equal.
There's a possibility that, that Damascus could say, sure, we'll sell this one and not buy this one, Audubon, you buy that one. I mean, that could, the stars could align and everything could be great. I just, and it'll give us a few days to see if those stars align for them, or if we get down to the last day and Damascus wants to close, we close.
This is our fiscal cliff.
I hope not. I hope not.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The fact you mentioned Audubon, is there a reason to think maybe the Audubon's wants to buy
They don't have the money.
the Ellaville tract or something?
I'll put it this way, they would like for someone to purchase it. Now, I don't think there's any question about that now. Whether they come up with the funds or not, and I told Mr. Draper directly that that we got a contract in place, and that just on the basis of him finding a pig in a poke, I wouldn't go stop the contract. If they came and they could work out something with Damascus, and it all, like I say, the stars aligned for them, I wasn't opposed to that. But I'm opposed to not getting the piece of property on the river just because of the information which I have seen. I think like I go back, I think from our core mission is a slam dunk, and I happen to think that they're just wrong on this one. But they want it all. I mean, they get right down to it, and he doesn't, I don't think they disagreed with me on what, they just don't want to see they won't like to have a vote. Yes, sir.
My name's Steve Platt, and I didn't put this particular issue down on the sheet that I gave you. I was interested in another one. As I understand, you're wanting this particular parcel that's on the river, and in order to get it in a swap, you're willing to give Damascus additional $200,000. Is that correct?
That's the difference in the two appraisals.
One, I think you're being gracious in allowing Damascus to back out of the contract if they find that this threat, that they don't want to be into it. But why can't you just say the value on this particular property, we want it, and a better deal is we get the property that the district wants, and we don't have to put up, if the other party wants the property, you still have to give us this particular parcel that we want, and we have to put up less than $200,000, and that's what a better deal is. And let it go at that. And if they can't get it by the closing date, close.
I think that's the direction in which is headed, and that's the intent. If they can't get it, and they can't, the stars don't unless I have some direction otherwise.
The bottom line is don't miss our closing date, correct?
Absolutely.
That's my-
I mean,
that's
I
my-
think at this point is if all the building parties, happen, we won't miss our closing date, unless there's information I don't have.
So
Damascus wants something.
there's a motion and a second for both of these. It sounds as if this one is not in favor, but the other is. For the amendment. We're not delegating it to accept a superior offer.
Maybe I should come in. In this, are we actually delegating you to accept another offer
He's gonna cut it down.
without us approving it in any
Yeah,
way?
he's gonna
Mr.
cut
Chairman,
out
two things. Number one was if all parties agree, if Damascus, for instance, wanted
Yeah,
to time
that's-
to look, then number one would allow the executive director to extend the closing date to give them that additional time, which we couldn't do otherwise.
I understand that.
We'll see.
Number two was, we've got a provision that says that if we get a better offer, we can accept that better offer. Since you,
We're not authorizing to accept that better offer.
Right, and since we have a closing date on Friday and y'all won't meet again before Friday, if you wanted to engage in that process, you needed to tell the executive director what that offer would look like. If y'all don't want to engage in that process, or if you're satisfied for us to call an emergency meeting or something along those lines, we can do it that way. If we were to actually get an offer, we may not even get one initially, but the problem is, I don't think the board, and I understand the sentiment y'all are giving me, and I fully appreciate that, but theoretically, if somebody walked in here with $5 million to buy this property, I mean, we would need to bring that to you, and, you know, and we have to have a mechanism to address that, even though it's probably very unlikely that they could do that before Friday, but we need to have some way to address that.
Then with the language in part two of the recommendation, as opposed to saying if necessary to accept the superior offer, if necessary to negotiate a superior offer. Because accept is accept.
Well, if you get an offer by Friday, we're either gonna have to kill that deal or close. So you can't really be negotiating, you've either got to have an offer and kill the first deal, or, you know, you're either gonna be fish or fowl, you can't be in negotiating, I wouldn't think. So that was the point of it, it's not to try to say we wouldn't do that or anything else, but we got that provision in the contract, and you're not gonna meet again before Friday, so what happens if somebody walks in here with a $5 million offer, what do we do?
Let me ask you,
Is that a realistic possibility? Are any of those people that might cough up $5 million here today to talk about this?
In my opinion, this is not a legal opinion, but just what I've done in the past, no, it's probably not a realistic possibility.
I have a question.
But I've got people telling me that they intend to make such an offer, so if people tell me that, I have to bring it to the board.
Do we have a time for the closing on Friday?
No, sir.
And what I'm thinking is, just to hedge our bets here, we could continue this meeting, not have to advertise it, to an hour before the closing, if we had the time, and then if we don't need to call the meeting, we don't, and if some offer comes in, then we have reconvene the meeting to consider it.
that was my next question, and I just happened to be with a county commissioner this past weekend. They had an issue come up, and he had to be late because he found out 2 hours prior that they were gonna have an emergency county commission meeting. Now, there was no way that was, went through all the 7 days. I mean, how do they do, I mean, they can't be under some different sunshine law than we are they?
Yes, they are. The difference is that school boards, county commissions, this board, and other boards are all under the sunshine law. That's under chapter 286. This board is different because this board is also an administrative agency. Counties and cities are not. So you're also under chapter 120. And chapter 120 has some special advertising rules, such as you have to advertise in the Florida Administrative Weekly or whatever they call it now. But you've got some different advertising requirements. But they both have provisions for emergency meetings. So, you know, you all could authorize us to go ahead and either notice one, go ahead right now and try to notice one for Friday, or call an emergency meeting if we had to, on Friday if that was put in.
But what about the legality of continuing this meeting?
The continuance is where you don't have to notice. the Attorney General has approved those. There's no court cases on it, but it's generally like if you go in late into the evening to continue it to the next morning. It's not generally for several days. They allow you to continue it without renoticing. So I would think you would have to renotice it, but I think you can do that if the board wants us to.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know that, it's my understanding that there are multiple fronts where people both in the state government and third parties are attempting to put together monies for an offer. Best case is an offer for Damascus. But failing that, because we don't know what their price point might be, it would be an offer for Ellaville. And everybody who's working on that understands the Friday deadline.
It's Damascus has, I mean, it's some decision they have to make. Either way, whether they say, man, I don't wanna fight the feds, or they say, sure, we'll take that extra money, we'll walk away and we're all happy. Either way, they kinda have to make a decision
I agree
to
with
stop
that.
this ball.
I agree with that, I just wanted to make sure you understood that it's, real time, people are trying to put together
No.
an offer.
What they will do, the superior, what really I think is what the parties are trying to do is trying to make a superior enough offer to Damascus that they will say, you know, they're gonna buy the piece we want, and Damascus says, that's fine, we'll take that for that, and we'll back out of this one, we'll back out of the trade. So Damascus gets the money, and the state or somebody owns both pieces of property. So Damascus would have to make that decision.
Damascus is still on the piece that we're trying
No.
to take for.
No. That's what that's the deal. They have to sell it. That's what they're wanting to do. If Damascus doesn't agree to sell it to them, I mean, nobody gets what they want. Because this thing's gonna close. I'm talking about the third parties and maybe some other state agencies, federal agencies. If Damascus does not take an offer from someone on that floodplain property on the river, then all bets are off. I mean, just the stars are not gonna align that way if they don't. I mean, that's the only way for it to happen. And they have to take, the number has to be something that Damascus feels like, I can walk away from this other deal because this is better for me.
As John's right, a superior offer would have to include the Damascus property that we're trying to acquire.
That, in my opinion, that's what has to happen.
Right.
I mean, we can take a superior offer on our piece, I mean, if we wanted to, I mean, that gives us, and that's what this is about, but to really stop this process, and you know, unless we're saying something different, they have to make a deal with Damascus.
To acquire the floodplain.
Right, to find what they want, because that's what we want, it's more core mission to us.
Right.
Plus we have a contract.
Plus, we have a contract. And I told everybody that we were gonna adhere to our contract.
Mr. Chairman, I see that there's a possibility of 3 different ways that this could go. Some of them more likely than others. And maybe by putting this out on the table, it'll help the discussion a little bit. Number one, a third party could come in and buy the Damascus property from Damascus, subject to our contract. So they basically just take the place of Damascus in the exchange. That's one way, and I think that's the way basically that folks are trying to head right now.
That was the part I would do.
Yes, sir. The second way would be if someone chose to use that provision in statute that requires us to take the highest obtainable price, they could come in with some offer of cash and or property that would be clearly superior to this. You know, we think that's a pretty darn high hurdle, but somebody could come in with a check for $10 million and say, this is important enough to me, you know, you need to sell me the Ellaville piece for $10 million. And then the third way is after our closing, that some party would go to Damascus and say, okay, you own this now, but we'd like to take it off your hand and give them a high enough offer. Those are the three ways I think, you know, that all of this could unravel.
Well,
Yeah, I don't want to say unravel. I'm sorry.
The fourth way is Damascus could come back and say, wait a minute, we got into something we don't like, we want out of this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, then nothing.
And that's the way it appears to me it's heading.
I think that would be a decision, yeah, I mean, that's Damascus' decision. I think I get it, I think as everybody understands, we can move on.
Well, the question is do we want to vote to approve the recommendation or to set some meeting, emergency meeting?
We're gonna do that, I'm gonna do that before we leave here.
It's gonna be what?
I'm gonna set an emergency meeting,
All right.
just in case.
So
Mr.
we do
Chairman, I withdraw
amend
my
that.
motion.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I withdraw my motion. Which was for the recommendation.
So if we do nothing, that means we close on the contract.
Unless we have an emergency meeting.
Do we still, in order to extend this out to Friday, do we still need to authorize the extending of the closing date?
No, sir.
That would be beyond Friday.
Well, here's the deal, if the way I was thinking this, is if this passes and nothing really happens, we will close and not need a meeting. Now, but if we don't, but we have to have this meeting to extend our closing date, isn't that correct? I mean, we gotta have this passed to extend our closing date,
No,
right?
that's beyond Friday, that's a contractual deal.
If Damascus, for instance, were to tell us, hey, we're fine to close, we don't care about the Indigo Snakes or whatever, and nobody else made an offer, we'd have a meeting scheduled, but we wouldn't have to call it, we'd go ahead and close.
That's right, if this passes.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, we'll have to have a meeting anyway?
No, I think the point is, you schedule a meeting now, if you get an offer that this board needs to consider, or if Damascus comes back and says, this indigo snake problem scares us, we want another 30 days to consider it, then at this meeting that you will have already called, the board can tell us, okay, we approve that or we disapprove it.
And that can happen whether we move on this or not.
If you're gonna have a special meeting on Friday, you can ignore
Okay,
that right there.
okay.
Are we statutorily required to accept the higher offer? You know, it looks like we've set a value based, the parent value based on this documentation, you know.
The way I would say it, that my advice to you is you are required to take the better offer, but it is up to this board, what is the better offer? You don't have to strictly say, well, because it's $1 more, it's a better offer. This board has things that it looks at in its core mission, such as the fact it's riverfront, it's floodplain, and it connects up our properties with the Twin River State Forest. You have to take the better one, but you have great latitude in deciding which one's better.
I like this better, and one reason is I think this does not need to be on the end shoulders, to be honest with you. I mean, I think, because this has a tendency to have some hard feelings from somewhere, you know, and I don't want to be on her decision. I'd much rather her be able to say this is what my board did. You know, whatever comes out of this.
We're used to hard feelings.
Yeah, we got broad shoulders, we'll take it. Not that you don't, man, I promise you. Do we need to actually table this, or can we just not make any?
What I would do, Mr. Chairman, is you can instruct staff right now to go ahead and set the meeting for Friday, and then you don't have a motion in a second, the issue would die, and you just move on.
Sounds good. So I go ahead and start our process to have an emergency meeting on Friday, prior to any closing that may be scheduled.
Mr. Chairman, would that be like one of our intermediate meetings where it would be either telephone or?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can do that teleconference, can we?
Yes, sir. Can we go ahead and decide on a time? Would that be?
Well, we don't know what time it is because we don't know when the closing is. We'll put it an hour before closing. Let's put it 2 hours before closing.
Well, we're doing the closing at my firm. The closing is just recording documents. It's not an actual sit-down thing. What I would prefer we do is, if we're going to have a meeting, say have the meeting at 1, that gives us plenty of time, several hours to get everything recorded and money's moved if we, if we want to have the closing after the meeting.
Sounds good. 1 o'clock, emergency meeting on Friday. And we'll be provided, telephone call-ins for anybody that wants it. That being done, let's take a few minute break.